everyone, I'm Savannah Rose Johnson and I wrote Ghosts and Letters. This is a book about the journey of life and especially emphasizing on mental health. I tell a lot about my own experience in mental health, but I also share a lot of thoughts through my experience working in the mental health field. The insight that I gained from those experiences has led me to a lot of what I've written in this book. I wanted to share today with you my poem on autism. From chapter 2, Demons, which is my chapter specifically about mental health, located on pages 72 and 73. And I'm gonna break it down and explain it to you piece by piece, just because I'm trying to build more awareness and a better understanding of autism. Autism is something that I've experienced professionally, but it's impacted my heart in many different ways, and that's what's continued to inspire me to pursue this field of work. This poem is something that was really strategic for me to write, not only as a mental health professional, but just someone who has empathy and compassion for the children that I've served and worked for. I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot of injustice that happens within this field, and me being a part of it is a way that I'm trying to combat that. Writing this poem is a way that I'm trying to break some more of the stigma that I think a lot of children with autism face. Being an advocate for them and a voice for them, because I just love them and care about them so much. Here we go. Page 72 and 73 on autism. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Life in slow motion, on the wrong track. Fish out of water, or whatever that means. I still belong in this world, that's what I believe. Known for how I'm different, not known for who I am. Why did I act like I'm wrong? This is the only way I know how to be. Talking above my head is like my heart does not feel. I do not understand why they do not understand. My eyes are open, human. I specifically wrote this poem to just show other people kind of the struggle that people with autism face. And specifically, I work with children, but I think this can be applied to anyone who struggles with autism. I made the first page rhyme and the second page not rhyme, because I think that a lot of times children with autism and people with autism are just faced with this pressure to be like everyone else when they're not. And it's not so much a cynical point of view, it's just a reality. It's let's embrace how these people are different. They are different, that's a fact. Let's not beat around that bush, but them being different doesn't have to be a bad thing. And I wish that these kids could be accepted more for how they're different. I think when you're reading the first page, you enjoy the flow of the rhyming, but then it abruptly changes to the second page of not rhyming. And I wanted to do that as a way of demonstrating the struggle that I think people with autism face. I specifically do that shift in rhyme to show how abruptly there can be changes within autism, beat of their own drum, so to speak. It causes a disturbance to other people when that's not their fault, and that's not necessarily something that I feel like they should feel guilty for. With autism, just talking about the first couple stanzas, the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, working with children who have autism, you have to go at their pace. So many times it's easy to get frustrated at wanting them to continue at the progress and the pace and the speed that you want them to, because you do want them so badly to succeed. But honestly, sometimes I think that pressure can be more maladaptive than anything, because it needs to be at their own pace. And so sometimes progress with children with autism is just, since they struggle so much with their neurodevelopment, it seems like every day can be 1 step forward and 2 steps back, especially for parents who struggle with behavior challenges or just feeding challenges, anything. You have to celebrate those little triumphs. Sometimes my work can be really emotional and very challenging on my spirit, because when my kids struggle, I feel it, and that's hard to experience. It's also a great reminder to myself in some ways when I have days that are hard. Their triumphs are my triumphs, and getting to be a part of their solution to their life is amazing, because I know I can't fix everything. Just like puzzle pieces represent autism and how different each person is, I have to remember that I'm just a puzzle piece in this child's life at the end of the day, and I can't fix everything, but I can do as much as I can when they're with me. I have them for an hour, I have them for a day or whatever. I'm gonna give my 110% during the time that I have with them in order to make the biggest difference that I can. And in the moment, it may not seem like a lot, and I desperately want to do so much more for these babies, but in the big picture, just the fact that I care and that I'm willing to work so hard is something I have to be grateful for, that I'm able to give them that energy and that compassion and that willingness to understand them at their level, which I think they need more of that. So life in slow motion, on the wrong track. It's, again, I think society's mindset on autism is trying to just get people to fit in as best as they can. And it can always seem like you're on the wrong track. The only way you're going to be accepted is if you act normal. Like, first of all, what is normal? That's why I mentioned those details. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Life in slow motion, on the wrong track. Fish out of water, or whatever that means. I still belong in this world. That's what I believe. This first page is about autism and how I feel people with autism struggle to find their place in this world because they're always being pushed towards another way of being that's not natural to themselves. And I think a lot of times people depict that the only way for them to feel accepted in this world is if they act a certain kind of way. Where I do understand that there are certain things we need to teach people with autism in order for them to be successful in our society, and be healthy and be happy. There are some things that I feel like people need to unclench a little bit and let kids be kids, for one, and let them feel comfortable with themselves and what they like. And I feel oftentimes children that I work with struggle with feeling like they're out of place in this world and not truly understanding why. And that's why I mentioned fish out of water, or whatever that means, because they know something's up. They can tell something is up, but they don't exactly understand why. And I think that that's more of a childlike innocence factor of children. They don't know any other way to be until people tell them otherwise. And I feel, especially with children with special needs, they are pushed towards these comparisons and inadequacies where they just need to be accepted. I feel like acceptance is the truest, most genuine gift that you can give a child with autism, because they need that space in order to just be a child and do goofy things and fun things and stuff that makes them happy. And if it's not hurting their development, then just let them do it. And I think sometimes there's just even more pressure with them to fit in, and that they're not going to be accepted because they have autism. But that's other people's problem, not their problem. They're beautiful just the way that they are. Known for how I'm different, not known for who I am. Why do they act like I'm wrong? This is the only way I know how to be. I wrote this stanza specifically because I think children, their labels are just too intense and infused in their identity, and it doesn't actually give people a chance to get to know them for who they are. They're just known for being that kid with autism, or that autistic kid, or the troublemaker in the class, and that's not accurate. It's not, and it hurts my heart because they have so much more potential to fulfill. It's what other people tell them and pound on them that makes them believe otherwise. Understanding where autism has a place in someone's behavior and personality is important, so that way you know how to accommodate or be sensitive to certain things. But at the same time, that's not their entire essence. They are Billy or Susie or whoever. They're not only that child with autism. So I think that separating that label needs to occur a bit more. And there are some exceptions, like there's extreme circumstances where the autism is so debilitating where you need to have that awareness right from the get-go in order for the child's well-being to be in place. Like specifically if a child is really noise sensitive and needs to keep headphones on, or examples like that, or they have like a seizure implant and they need special care because of that technology. Of course, I'm about that, but especially if it's more minor autism, I think that honestly putting that barrier right at the get-go, it changes people's perceptions and can intimidate people on what do I say, how do I act, and it's Meanwhile, if you don't do that initially, you're just giving the child the chance to be accepted for who they are. And so I love that. All about inclusivity. Let's just include everyone. Just be sweet. Talking above my head like my heart does not feel. I do not understand why they do not understand. My eyes are open, human. And I wrote this last stanza specifically to voice some frustration that I've had with other mental health professionals, with parents, with caretakers, all kinds of sorts. I hate it when people act like children with special needs are incoherent to things that are going on. Sure, they may not have a parent processing right up front the way a typical, like neurotypical child may be able to point something out, like, why did you say that? But abilities aside, people's hearts can feel when you are judging them or not accepting them for something. And just because they have autism, that's no exception to anything. Children with autism still know when you care about them, and the energy that you emit as a caretaker, that sets the tone for all the interactions. So if you go into a situation being cynical and thinking they're never going to get better, this is hopeless, whatever, you're telling that your attitude is already fulfilling that prophecy for that child, because guess what, your heart's not in it either. So how can theirs follow up to it if they don't even, the person whose their well-being is in the hands of doesn't even believe in them first? It makes no sense to me. I think that's awful. I'll be the first to say that. And it's my pet peeve when teachers or caretakers are like talking above the heads about the child when they're right there. Like, they don't understand that something's going on. They might not be able to understand clinical terms about what's going on, but they know that you're talking about them, and they know that your tone, they can pick up on that. They can just, the energy, you feel that stuff, and it's like you expect for not to have an impact because they may not be neurotypical, but they do. You can feel that stuff. Think about how mad it made you when your parents would, or your grandparents or whoever would talk about you and your little kid. Like, you felt so powerless and so at the mercy of those people, and their interpretations were 99% of the time wrong, and you wanted so desperately to speak up and say something and advocate for yourself. And that's very much the same situation that these children are going through with autism, is they may not have the literate capability to do so, especially when they're young. And it just frustrates me when people who claim to be mental health professionals and who claim to want to work with these children and have their best interests still do that kind of stuff. And it's like, I feel like you're a very dense, daft person if you believe that they don't feel that. And I think that you already believing it is making it halfway come true, because if you believe in something, you can make it happen. And if you don't believe in something, then chances are it's not going to happen, or you're never going to want to put forth the effort or the energy to make it happen. Whether or not they can do it, we'll find out, but not giving them a chance to at least try it is where I have a problem. And I think that there needs to be better beliefs in place about that. I do not understand why they do not understand. My eyes are open, human. There's just so much confusion and just such a separation of realities, I believe, between children who have autism, because they know no other way to be. That's how they were born, and from the very beginning, here they are being pushed against their natural tendencies, and they never really quite get why. They just know that they're autistic if their parents even tell them. Sometimes parents choose not to do that. From the very beginning, from the get-go, from their schooling, from their treatment, anything, it begins with this sense of confusion for everyone, whether it's knowing what to do to help, to being able to build the communication skills necessary to communicate on their needs and advocate for themselves. It's a challenge through and through. And the last couple lines, my eyes are open, human, I specifically just wanted to reiterate to the fact that the eyes are open is an awareness aspect. It's sometimes children with autism struggle with language capabilities, being able to speak or express themselves or even write or comprehend it sometimes. But I don't feel like that is a way you can 100% rule out overall comprehension. Again, I think it's something that you feel in your heart, and with eyes being wide open, there is still that intake of information aspect to it. So where some children may not be able to tell you straight up, yes, I heard you talking about me, they will still be able to understand what's going on. They still can see it, they can still feel it in some way, shape, or form, and in that way it is still impacting them. And the last line being human, I feel like sometimes people get so caught up in labels. Again, it's autistic, non-autistic, autism with OCD, or autism with anxiety, or autism with other things, but it's these labels where I think they are important and they can help guide us in better care. At the end of the day, everybody's a human being and should be treated as such, and with compassion and empathy and consideration, and I feel like sometimes children with special needs are thrown under the bus, maybe because it's harder to build relationships and build that empathy. But regardless, if you're not able to, as an individual, build a relationship with someone for whatever reason, it doesn't discount the fact that everyone is still worthy of basic human decency, regardless of their ability or their mental state or anything. I feel like if you're treating somebody as an animal, they're not the animal, it's you. It is you 100%, because regardless of ability or anything like that, you can still show that mercy and that understanding and have the hope and the faith that they can improve and be happy in their life. That first starts with you. You have to be that leader and accept them, welcome them into this world, and be able to build those accommodations as necessary. And I just feel like that needs to happen more in this world. Page 72 and 73 of Ghosts and Letters in Chapter 2, Demons, my chapter on mental health, speaking about autism through my work experience with children with autism. There's a lot of insight and opinion. The way working with these children has touched my heart and impacted me, and it's kind of a way for me to be a voice for them and express some frustration that I feel like they don't ever get to express. But seeing it in my profession, I would just be boiling with anger, thinking, how can you do this with these little babies? And just, they're children, we need to be gentle with them, and they need to know that they're protected and cared for. And I feel like sometimes that just is not well expressed to children who have special needs. It's like you're a challenge. You should be thankful that you're even getting this attention and accommodation more, whereas I feel like it should be handled with care, gentle, fragile. So hope you check it out. Thank you.